energy recovery bonus is finally useful, although is it enough to live up to its gold subskill name? Welcome back to another Pokemon Sleep video, it's Bro Vinny here. In today's video, we're going to cover this news update that was released on Pokemon Day. Unfortunately, the information here is a little bit vague. There's no specific date about when things will be implemented, but it's an idea of what will be coming in the near future. And even the developers are a bit uncertain themselves because, well, they say that this list is just a partial list. So at some point, we'll probably have to go through everything again. But let's look at the information that is given to us first. There will be buffs and nerfs in these upcoming updates. The list for nerfs though is a bit shorter, so let's go through that first. For people who are used to doing 2 sessions a day, that's like myself and Piggy, unfortunately our second session of the day is going to suck a bit more in the future, because from whenever this update is coming, if you do 2 sessions in a day, the Pokemon that spawn in the second sessions may only give you 1 candy per spawn, and you get half the amount of Dream Shards and Research EXP. That would be the case if the first session already had 10 spawns, so for example 8 Pokemon spawns from the wild, 1 good camp ticket, and 1 Pokemon incense. Meaning you've in total researched 10, and the second session onwards will be Pokemon 11th onwards will only provide you with less resources. So early on in each week, you may not feel these effects because your first session you might not get 10 spawns. You might only get 5 spawns, and your second session will get 5 spawns. But later on in the week, or maybe during Good Sleep Day, or whenever you've got a large drowsy power and you normally do 2 sessions, well, unfortunately the second session won't give you as much resources as it did before. This is particularly concerning if your nap is like a short nap, like 2 or 3 hours, and you've already done your 10 spawns, and your second session is your big sleep score session where you normally farm more resources like candies and Dream Shards. Well, unfortunately, you're going to see a bigger nerf than everyone else. If you're a night shift person, then usually maybe your first session will be the longer session and your second session will be the shorter session. Then you won't be as affected because the second session probably normally gives you less resources anyway. So while that might sound bad, the good news is the first 10 spawns will actually provide you with more candies from this update onwards, because, well, they're just buffing the amount of candies being farmed per Pokemon. And I guess it makes sense because we are getting a level unlock very soon. Pokemon will soon be able to reach level 65. But that also comes with probably a steeper EXP curve, meaning you're going to need even more resources to get them to that level. Just a side note, raising Pokemon level from level 60 to 65 is a relatively better buff for berry specialists than it is for other specialties, because, well, there's no skill unlock and there's no ingredient unlock for skill specialists or ingredient specialists, but there is a berry strength unlock for Pokemon leveling up. But ingredient Pokemon will also get a buff in the sense that recipe levels are going up by 5 levels as well. Research rank going to 65, meaning there's going to be a few more free gifts on the way. But unfortunately, it means reduced amount of Dream Shard farming until you reach Research rank 65. Because Research EXP gets converted to Dream Shards once you reach the max rank. Although if you actually run any Pokemon that have Research EXP in their subskills, you're also getting a buff because Research EXP will now be farming 9% more compared to previously 6%. I guess this is a welcome change because, relatively speaking, every time you do a sleep research, the amount of Dream Shards you farm is greater than the Research EXP. And since the conversion from Research EXP to Dream Shards is 1-to-1, it was never quite fair that Dream Shard bonus subskill gives 6% and Research EXP bonus also gives 6%. They give equal amounts of boost, so making Dream Shard bonus an overall better subskill than Research EXP. Although an additional 3% doesn't seem like a lot, it does close that gap a little bit. But the gold subskill of the day that we need to talk about is energy recovery bonus. Previously, what it did was multiply the energy that you recover by 1.14, meaning you get an extra 14% every time you sleep. And if you are someone who doesn't normally get to sleep 100% sleep score, in other words 8.5 2.5 hours in a day, maybe you typically only get 5 hours of sleep a day, well, this subskill would be useful to you to make sure you start the day with a full energy team. But if you've been min-maxing the game, well, this subskill is probably one of the worst subskills because it didn't really do much since energy gets capped at 100% from sleep recovery. You can go above 100% with either pillows or energy for everyone or healer skills, but you cannot go over 100% using your sleep until now. So soon we'll be able to go above 100% to 105%, but only for the Pokemon that has the energy recovery bonus subskill. Now guessing here because the wording is a little bit vague. It's not very specific. It sounds like the increased cap only applies to Pokemon that has that subskill. Now that additional 5 is about 15 minutes of farming time that you get in additional. Although energy recovery bonus will be relatively more useful to the people who nap because for 2 times a day, you can actually go to 105% energy. So while people who do 2 sessions a day are getting a bit nerfed for their resources, we are getting a buff in terms of using energy recovery bonus as a subskill. If it's 2 times a day reaching 105%, that's now 100 minutes extra farming time every day. Now I'm not saying that it's better than other skills, I'm just saying it's now better than it was before. Some other buffs that are coming include, now this one's a bit vague, an adjustment to the perks you gain from raising friendship above a certain point. Currently, we know that if you get to friendship level 10, you get a guaranteed gold skill at the level 10 slot. Whether that's a good thing or not, well, that's up for debate. But what is often irrefutably a bad thing is reaching friendship level 40 onwards where you get double gold skills. So you get the level 10 and 25 slots being guaranteed gold skills. For berry specialists, it's not so bad because you could get helping bonus and berry finding within the first 2 subskills. But for other Pokemon which don't really want berry finding, they all could use helping bonus, but ingredient specialists want ingredient finding, skill specialists want skill trigger, well that gold skill guarantee at level 25 blocks them from being good. In fact, my very own situation with Eevee is that I've stopped catching them since they guaranteed 3 gold skills. I'm never going to be able to find a perfect Eevee because I'm guaranteed 3 gold skills. I'm never going to get skill trigger M at any of those slots. Well, for the adjustments that are coming, I have no idea what's going to be adjusted because, well, they didn't say, but hopefully something to make it easier for us to catch Pokemon above a certain friendship level, even with the guaranteed gold skills. I don't think they'll remove the mechanic that guarantees gold skills. They'll probably just adapt or improve on it. We're also getting some different Pokemon instances from our weekly missions, but only in these 4 areas. The first 4 areas of the game: Greengrass, Cyan Beach, Taupe Hollow, and Snowdrop Tundra. I guess the reason is, well, the previous Pokemon instances that came with the missions, they might be a little bit old, a little bit power creeped, and the new Pokemon haven't made it into the instances yet. So it's time for an update, and I think that's a good change. And finally, probably the first thing you would have noticed that I've avoided talking about is the adjustments to speed of help down. We are going to get a buff so that speed of help down doesn't harm the Pokemon as much. For the people who keep asking about mints, well, maybe we don't need mints anymore if they keep fixing Pokemon that kind of suck because of the nature. So this is a welcome change. Previously, we had a buff to energy recovery natures, and now we're getting a buff to speed of help nature. So we don't really know how much they're going to buff this, but this is a more needed buff than energy recovery down nature being buffed because, well, energy recovery, there are fixes for it. Because if you've got an ER down Pokemon, if it's on a self-healing Pokemon, that's almost never an issue because hopefully you'll just be above 80% all day anyway from the self-healing. Alternatively, well, once you reach 80% or below, you just change out your Pokemon and farm something else. Or you use pillows, so there are fixes for ER down. There's no fix for being slow for speed of help down. So this was always a much needed fix. And the last news we got is that this event, Cresselia versus Darkrai, will come towards the end of March. We don't have any information about it except that it's coming soon. and that psychic Pokemon will get a buff during this period. So it's a good time to look at your psychic Pokemon to see if you need to prepare any of them for this event. For me personally, I already have a Mr. Mime that I've invested, and I've got a Gardevoir that I've invested, but I do not have a Wobbuffet or an Espeon that I've invested. But also don't forget that often these events come with boosted rates of that type of Pokemon, so psychic type Pokemon, to spawn as well. So sometimes people use these events to catch the Pokemon that they need. Maybe you're still looking for a good Ralts. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think about these updates.